What is going on, Guardians? Ember here with another one for you. Today we have a Titan build on Prismatic using the new Void aspect Unbreakable. Now this aspect is considered by the community widely to be a 0, and I'm going to show you how a simple combination on the exotic class item Stoicism can take it to hero status. And on my last video, we started the tradition of roasting my Guardian's drip. And so I ask you now, if you see my Guardian and it brings something funny to mind, just go ahead and roast me down in the comment section. And let's give it up for last week's winner, Wayne7135, who said, "Bro, your Titan built like an Iron Man suit knockoff, like a Gundam made of spare parts, like an indecisive cosplayer, like a Power Ranger Megazord made of only Blue Rangers." I could go on, but I think you get the message. Spare parts, Titan. But thanks again, Wayne, that really did get me. Quickly, before we get into the build, head down below this video, absolutely obliterate that like and subscribe button, and without further ado, let's get to it. Briefly going over our character screen here, we have our Stoicism mark, which is what our build is made all around, and this has Spirit of the Bear and Spirit of the Armamentarium, and we will get into how that works together later when we're doing the gameplay. But we're pairing Bold Endings with Headstone and Demolitionist, both enhanced with Buried Bloodline, and then just whatever heavy weapon you prefer for whatever it is that you're doing. Going into the subclass here, we are using the Blade Fury Super. I'm going with the Thruster class ability because it's quicker to activate and it's kind of fun to dash all around the battlefield. We are using Frenzied Blade and Thermite Grenade. Really, any grenade is fine as long as you're not using the Shackle Grenade because that has a higher cooldown. We're using Unbreakable and Consecration for our aspects, and then our fragments are Facet of Blessing, Devotion, Awakening, Purpose, Dawn, and Protection. Going into our artifact here, this is what we're working with, and we'll talk about which ones are important later. And our mod overview screen here with all of the things we have working together. We want to get as much grenade energy as possible, so that is what you will see when you look at these mods all together. Now, let's check out how strong this is in practice in the gameplay. I mean, I was surprised, especially after using the base Unbreakable aspect when it first came out. And this just takes it to a whole new level. I'm really excited to get into it.
Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it!
As far as our aspects go, we're using Unbreakable for that mobile shield that we get that also does the short-range blast. We are using Consecration in parallel with that because that is a really great way to clear huge amounts of ads, and because we have our Frenzied Blade melee, we get 3 charges for Consecration, and that's good for any situation. Moving on to our fragments, we are using Blessing so that we can get health regen on any melee kill that we get. Devotion so that when we're using our primary weapon, since it's stasis, it will give us bonus light energy so we can spam Transcendence all over the place. Awakening so that we can get elemental pickups from the damage we deal, like a Consecration will give us grenade energy since we're going to be creating a fire sprite that gives us grenade energy when we pick it up, and we're going to be making all kinds of those pickups. We're using Purpose so that our orbs that we pick up grant Woven Mail, and that is specifically why we're using the Strand Super on Titan here. We want to make sure we get that damage resist from Woven Mail. We're using Dawn so that our Consecrations will make us Radiant, and then Protection so that we can get even more damage resist, especially while we're surrounded. It gets really dangerous when you're holding that shield up, and you want to make sure that you're taking next to 0 damage, and this is all a great way to pair a lot of very strong fragments and aspects together so that you can survive. Now that we have all the business taken care of, I want to talk about why I love this build. It is truly a ton of fun to use because you can really get up in the faces of all the enemies around you and do what Titans do best, wreak close range havoc on your enemies. And you have a lot of tools at your disposal to get out of extremely sticky situations. Consecrations for large groups of enemies. You can go Transcendent and chain that for an incredibly long time. And once Transcendence ends, you get both of your grenade charges back and all 3 of your melee charges back. And then by the time you're done and out of all those charges, you're pretty near, if don't already have your Transcendence back. It's kind of an infinite loop of abilities, so long as you have enough targets to take care of. And even if you don't have a huge density of targets, you know, we have that primary weapon, the bold endings, able to get you tons of grenade energy, even if you're out of all your other ammo. We can use our Buried Bloodline to get Devour, so that while we're in the fray, it just goes off and we can live through next to anything as long as we're generating orbs, which basically everything we're doing is generating orbs, whether it's a consecration or just getting kills with our bold endings. And that's going to keep feeding right back into the woven mail. And since we're basically always going to be surrounded and right up next to our enemies, we have that facet of protection. And so we're going to be taking so little damage here, it's actually not even funny. Now let's talk about the Unbreakable aspect as a whole. As it's on its own by itself, it's really not that impressive. If you don't have something like this class item to give you Spirit of the Bear, where you can get super energy back and move a little bit quicker, it is a little sluggish to kind of go around the field. It's a little sluggish to kind of walk around the field even with it, but I mean, it's bearable with this aspect. And then a lot of people are saying that it's only worth using on Void. And I do think it's incredibly strong on Void, but personally, I had way more fun using this on Prismatic, especially since we have Armamentarium and Spirit of the Bear on this class item. It's a special combination that you can't get on your Void subclass. You can't equip the Void subclass and get Bastion and things like that to kind of boost you in the way that the Void subclass does. This adds a completely unique gameplay style where you can loop your Transcendence and these Unbreakable bursts, so you can really get up into the fray and on top of your enemies. Now, the biggest drawback of using Unbreakable is that shield does technically have a health bar. You can get it destroyed while you're holding it up, lose the ability to ricochet back that damage that you're taking into the enemies. So you have to be careful about where you're using it. You can't just walk up to absolutely anything in the game. You're not going to be able to walk up to a boss, probably a lot of bosses at least, and just hold Unbreakable. They're going to kind of shred you for the most part. You're going to have to be really, really careful and pay attention to that little bar on the left side of your screen. When you're holding up Unbreakable, you can see there's about 5 segments in there. And as you fill up those segments, that is extra damage that you're going to be doing when you release your grenade input, so that when you release that little burst in front of you, it's going to do significantly more damage the higher you have that meter filled. I don't know if that correlates directly to the health of your shield, but I definitely wouldn't let it sit there on full for too long after you've already kind of charged it up all the way, because you know, you may lose all of it because you just have your shield break in front of you. So Guardians, if you've gotten lucky and had this class item combination drop, give it a try. If you've been macro farming, which is about to go away, I guess, maybe, we'll see, give it a shot, because it's truly a lot of fun. And I mean, it can surprise you with actually how powerful it is. I feel very safe while using this build, especially just in general activities like the seasonal story, dungeons, raid encounters that maybe don't have a boss to DPS. I mean, there's a lot of things you can use this build in that really will just shine. You'll be able to keep your teammates alive. You will live through some very, very surprising amounts of damage, and when you are very low on health, you can kind of hold up that shield as a panic button. Anyway, Guardians, that's going to have to be all for me for now. Until next time, be without form, swift as lightning.